Jesus told the story of what we have come to know as the parable of the prodigal son. The parable shows how God responds to us as the Redeemer. It's also sometimes called the parable of the lost son. And I'm going to base my message today on that parable. So I'll read the introduction of the parable in Luke's Gospel, chapter 15, verses 11 and 12. Luke chapter 15, verses 11 and 12. And we read these words. Then he said, a certain man had 2 sons. And the younger of them said to his father, Father, give me the portion of goods that falls to me. So he divided to them his livelihood. Instead of reading the entire story at once, I will read them in portions as they relate to my message for today. And just to give you a background, the father in this parable had 2 sons, and most of you are familiar. And those sons are a study in contrast or opposites. It's almost like day and light and night. One of the sons turns out to be a wasteful son. We call him the prodigal son. He's a waster. He wastes his father's resources. And the wasteful son is the younger son. The elder son is a dutiful son. He's close to his father. He makes good decisions, takes good care of his father's resources. The challenge to the father is, how do you love these contrasting sons? One a good boy, the other not a good boy. How do we as fathers love our children, those who are dutiful and those who are wasteful? Those who give us joy, those who give us heartache. Those who disappoint us and those who always live up to expectation. Sooner or later, our fathers will realize that sometimes your children are not the same. There are times that all your children are good performers. And then there are times that all your children are bad. And then there are those times, like in the story of this parable, where some of the children are good and some are bad. And you have to deal with all of them at the same time. And how does a father respond to that? That's what this parable is teaching us. So, we're going to look at this good-hearted father. And I'm going to make 8 points about him, or 8 observations about this good-hearted father. And I pray for every father that God will help us to inculcate these attributes into our lives. And the mothers who are listening into this conversation, that you will also learn how to be good mothers in the process. Although this message is not for you. You are just distant observers, and you are listening to the gossip from behind the window between men. But you can learn something too, women. Interestingly, in this parable, there's no mention made of the mother. So we don't know where the mother is when all of this is going on, but it's about the father. Point number 1, the first thing we notice about this father, the good-hearted father, is that he provides for his children and builds an inheritance for them. The good-hearted father provides for his children and builds an inheritance for them. Verse 12 says, the younger of them said to his father, give me the portion of goods that falls to me. So he divided to them his livelihood. Now I want you to notice that the division of the livelihood was not only to the younger son, but also to the elder son. The older son had his inheritance, and the younger son had his inheritance. He divided to them his livelihood. So this father was a hardworking father. He was a prosperous business owner with a lot of goods. And it is obvious that the children were aware of what the father had. And probably in conversation with the children, he had made them aware that whatever he had belonged to them. Because if they didn't have this sense of assurance, the younger would not have demanded for his portion. So the father had provided for his children, built an inheritance for them, and assured them that what he had belonged to them. Each father of us must learn from this father to provide according to our ability for our children. So this man had a heart for his children's security. He was intent that the future of his children will be right. That's the first thing we see about this father. Second thing we see is that this father trusts his adult children to take responsibility. He trusts his adult children to take responsibility. Verse 13, not many days after, the younger son gathered all together, journeyed to a far country, and there wasted his possessions with prodigal living. This is one of the most difficult things for a father to do. Very difficult. He gave the younger child what he asked, and he knew the risks involved. What do you do as a father when your child makes a choice that you know is not in their best interest? And every parent faces this dilemma. There is a time when a parent dictates to his children, that is at the childhood stage. You dictate to them, do this, don't do that, and they comply. Then there is a time when the parent overrules his child. That is the adolescent. At that time, they are not waiting for instructions. They are making up their own mind, but they are still under your roof, and you can overrule them. But there comes a time when you can't overrule your children, when they become adults. And that's where this boy was. He wasn't a child. He wasn't adolescent. He was a man of full age. And one of the things of a person who is of full age is that they make decisions. In our country, when you are 18, you can determine whom you want to be your president or parliamentary leader. You can vote. That's big responsibility. Similarly, as children grow up, they are trusted for decisions. However, we know that children can make some of the most bizarre decisions in their life. And they can do things that you know without any shadow of doubt is headed for disaster. And that is what this father knew. He knew what the child asked was headed for disaster. And when the child started to go on his own, he knew it was not good. But he trusted that his child was a responsible child and allowed him to take that decision. It's very difficult for parents, for fathers, to trust that their children at the adult stage can make decisions. So what do you do when you know that they are making a decision and it's not good? This father had a heart for his children's independence. He understood, I cannot baby them forever. I cannot baby him forever. There comes a time when a man's got to do what a man's got to do. And that was where this child was. He was no longer a baby, he's no longer an adolescent, and his father trusted him to make independent choices. A good-hearted father trusts his children in the adult stage to make independent choices. The men are very quiet here.